Hi guys, I'm Kristen and welcome to Studio Knit. It's hat month and I have been receiving a lot of requests from you on how to knit on circular needles. Today, with my 5 easy steps, you can start knitting in the round like a pro. I make my hats. I love using my circular needles. Some people like to call this a magic loop. It's essentially just your 2 knitting needles, and instead of them being separate, there is this like acrylic plastic loop, so it's circular, so you can just keep knitting around and around and around rather than going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth like you're used to with just your straight knitting needles. So you can make hats with just straight knitting needles, but to make them quickly and most enjoyably, I love using one of these. So let's check it out. To begin, we are going to cast on. The cast on is similar to how we cast on our regular straight needles. And if you'd like to see a complete tutorial on casting on, this is the long tail method. I have a link in the description below. So just on the right needle, we are going to cast on the number of stitches that your pattern requires. And when you're done, your stitches will go all the way around your circular needle. 2. All patterns will tell you to be careful not to twist your stitches. What does that mean? Well, after casting on, the stitches might wrap around like this. So you need to make sure before you do your first round of knitting that all of your stitches are straight. So that means that the edge of your knitting right here is in the middle of your circle. We are going to join. This is often called joining in the round. I'm going to put a stitch marker on. I just like to use a bit of yarn for my stitch marker. And since I am a right-hand knitter, I am going to take both the tail and my yarn for my first stitch and go ahead and just knit it through. That just helps me feel like it's a little bit more secure in joining in the round. And once you've done that, you can let go of that yarn tail and take your one strand of yarn and continue knitting around and around. Pretty simple stuff. And this is what I like to call the knit and scooch. As we're knitting around, what will happen is on your right side, you have to scooch your stitches down because they bunch up. And to continue knitting, you need to scooch your stitches on the left up. And lastly is a really great little trick for weaving in the tail. Instead of having to weave in our yarn end here on the edge of our knitting, we are going to go ahead and on the second round of knitting, take both the yarn tail and your yarn after moving your stitch marker and knit them together, right like this. Get it nice and tight. And what I like to do is I like to knit 3 stitches with both the yarn tail and my yarn together. And this way, I don't have to weave in that yarn tail when I'm done knitting. It is ready to cut off at any time. We can even do it right now, and it will hold right in there in those stitches that we just knit. Very cool. I hope you're inspired to give knitting in the round a try on circular needles, or you can call it a magic loop. And thank you so much for watching Studio Knit. Please subscribe, and my playlist for everything Hat of the Month related is in the description below.
The best yet to come.
Bye!